Clint Eastwood used to be a megastar. I mean, hell, they call him Mr. Hollywood. For years, he was killing it as a spaghetti western hero, blasting fools away as the man with no name. He possessed a swagger that would have made even John Wayne cream in his saddle. Then, suddenly, he was Dirty Harry, the badass cop who operates outside the law and punches holes in bad guys with big fat guns. The double franchise dip is the most coveted move in all of Hollywood. He was on top of the world. Then his agent asked him what he wanted to do next, and he said, "I want to do one with a monkey." Philo Bedeau. Okay, we're 2 words into the recap and we're gonna back up. Philo Bedeau? Not even in the deepest crevasse of butt-fuck nowhere would you find a trucker with that moniker. Philo Bedeau drives a Ford truck. It's got a classic-ass look. I want to ride in it, but only if I get to wear a pair of Clint Eastwood's tight-ass jeans. Yes, look at those jeans. A song plays that says the name of the movie approximately 55 times. Every which way as he drives about, makes out with random shift workers, heats the pants of other random shift workers, and then pulls over to get himself wasted. A few desperados hit on one another out of sheer desperation, and then one of them antagonizes Philo for taking free peanuts.
This squirrel's ripping off peanuts, ain't you, squirrel? Gonna take them up to your tree, eh?
So, Philo charges up his Gallic gun and cold cocks the sucker in the face. The greasy man makes an ill-informed attempt to fight back, so Philo cold cocks him some more. Then the theme song comes back for seconds, and Philo takes his big dick energy with him right on home. He greets Orville of Orville's tow service as they pass one another. Orville takes his ma to the DMV for her driving test, and along the way, he insults her for being old. Philo cracks a cold one and heads to the shed, where he's accosted by a mysterious man in the dark. The camera shakes around a lot, so we know it's for real. But holy shit, that's not a man, that's a full-grown orangutan. It beans Philo's ass out the door, then swaggers out after him and sellies like he just netted himself a chicken dinner. His name is Clyde. That night, Orville comes out to see Philo, and Philo picks up his goddamn truck to remind him who the alpha is. The next day, a crowd of good-natured degenerates gambles on bare-knuckle boxers. Clint takes his shirt off. This was the epitome of manlyhood in the 70s. Remember Top Gun Maverick? Yeah, actors these days must be on something. Anyways, back to the 6th circle of hell. Philo destroys some idiot with a bowl cut while his pet monkey roots for him and trolls his latest victim. Philo blows the guy over, then walks away, topless, hand in hand with Clyde. Can you imagine how emasculated this crowd must feel? I'm surprised they haven't all left town. That night, a tasteful band plays tasteful songs about true romance, while our heroes chuckle over misogynistic banter.
One's a redhead.
I'll take the one on the left. All right. One stuffing her face with chowder.
And let's be honest, Philo's gonna pick up whoever he damn well pleases. He picks a lady named Carol. She's an intellectual. This bores Philo immensely. Orville then hands him some fake teeth, which he places in Carol's chowder. Carol returns, starts to say some smart shit, and then finds the teeth and bails. Orville says, "Man, if you put that on YouTube, you'd get like 1 million hits." Then, Miss Lynn Halsey takes the stage. I'm not going to lie, I fantasize about truck stop romance like this sometimes. There's something so hopeless about it. Philo's jeans are becoming as domed as the bicep line of his t-shirt. He's definitely going to let Lynn meet his monkey. Lynn puts her guitar behind the bar because I guess there was no room for it on the stage. Then she orders a beer because she's cool like that. Lynn saw Philo prank that other lady and she's not impressed. Philo hits on her by saying that he once knew a child that looked like her and she turned him on. Welcome to the 70s. Moments later, they're making time in his truck. Philo immediately propositions sex, and Lynn says, "How about a 3-way with my boyfriend?" Philo hits the ejector seat. The next day, a biker gang cosplaying as the Capitol rioters meet Clyde the monkey. They laugh, so Clyde flips him the bird. Then they throw a dart at Clyde, so Philo decides to commit vehicular manslaughter. A chase ensues directly through a dirt lot driving range. They kick up a tornado of dirt. Philo whispers sweet nothings to his chimp, and soothing country tunes swell as they close in for the kill. The idiot bikers hide in a car wash, and their bodies are cleaned for the first time since they dropped out of high school. The chase resumes, then abruptly ends. Philo jacks a street sweeper, risking jail time for a much slower vehicle. Imagine the sheer horror of them chasing you. Slowly. The bikers escape on a train, and Philo destroys a bunch of fruit with the stolen city property. But his monkey loves him, so the scene ends on a high note, free of any repercussion. Philo hits the town with Lynn. He tells her about Clyde. He won the monkey in a fight. He bet his truck and 2 dirt bikes, and then he beat up 4 dudes at once to win the bet. If Lynn isn't steamed up by now, she doesn't have a pulse. Soon the two are an item, and they're chilling with Orville at a disgusting diner. Some skids send Lynn a beer from the next table, which is perfect because Philo hasn't met his quota for crippling mentally handicapped people yet today. He swigs the beer, so Captain Chlamydia and the ST dork come over to show off their Black Widow tattoos. Philo takes them outside and bodies them. He then steals their bike. The next morning, Orville's ma tells Philo that the monkey's been stealing from her. Clint reminds her that his biceps are wider than she is tall. Then Clyde lays a fat one on her. Then they do this.
Bang.
So, consider these badasses innocent of theft. Meanwhile, the Black Widow gang is discussing their next mission from Donald Trump. The chief moron reminds them that Philo is stealing all their bikes. They laugh about how incompetent they are, so the chief hits one of them in the dick. He says, "Go get me that monkey." Philo takes Lynn on a shopping spree with all the money he made hawking the bikes. This guy has made more Giga Chad moves in 3 days than I have in my entire life. But look out, they're being tailed. The stranger sideswipes our heroes, then attempts to light them up with a shotgun. Lynn says it must be her boyfriend, Skylar. Back at home, Orville's working on his rig. Clyde enters the scene like a sleep paralysis demon. He steals Orville's beer, then trolls him like he's going to murder him. Philo arrives and makes fun of Orville, then toddles off with his monkey. The next day, Philo grooms Clyde. Then he takes him to meet Lynn. He does this. I don't care how trained that monkey is. Clint Eastwood was brave for doing that. Philo arrives at the bar and is greeted with a heartbreaking message from Lynn, saying that she split town. Philo is sad, but fortunately there's a fresh batch of good old boys within arm's reach, so he cold cocks a whole bunch more. The bartender tells him, "Philo, those are the police." So he flees the scene, still completely free of consequence. He heads home, loads up the RV, and he's off to the east to track down Lynn, like some sort of manhunter. They pull over at a fruit stand and Orville falls in love at first sight. This lady's name is Echo, and she lets him touch her cantaloupes. And people say Austin Powers did it first. Philo then returns to the RV to see that his bud has kidnapped a woman. He asks 0 questions, and they hit the road again. Clyde hands him a road beer. In a land far, far away from any functioning brain cells, Trump's troglodytes arrive at a diner and start a rumble. Lots of people throw clumsy punches. A truck runs over some bikes. Then BDSM Hitler breaks it up, and they leave. This scene served literally no purpose. That night, at a campground, Orville tells Echo she should go take a piss in the woods. Chivalry must have died in the 60s. Echo finally meets Clyde and she flips. Philo brokers an introduction, and Echo realizes she's liable to die soon. The next morning, the fat, fancy fascists arrive at Ma's place. They destroy her porch, so she pulls out a shotgun and fucking blows up a bunch of their bikes with bullets. It's an incredible bit of comedy. So they move along to a trailer park, where one guy says,
"If he's the only one here, let's have some fun."
Alright, let's skip this part. The gang's hanging in a diner where health code inspections don't exist because Clyde's rocking out. The lovebirds want some privacy, so he and Philo go for a romantic walk, slam some romantic brews, walk some more, pound a few more pints, walk again, yeet some yeast, hobble along once more, and finally catch a ride back to the motel. Orville's wearing a backwards ball cap in bed. Philo is drunk and distraught because he's had an epiphany. He needs to get his monkey laid. They all hit the road. Philo about 12 brews deep at this point, and soon they pull up at a zoo. They grab some rope, and in they go. Clyde rappels into the monkey pit like it's Splinter Cell, cracks a door, and immediately loses his orangutanity. Is there anything Clint Eastwood can't do? The next day, the crew stumbles into a new fight club. It's in a meat locker. A mean fighter named Kincaid awaits them, and it's on. Kincaid does some fancy footwork like he's the awkward kid at the dance. Then Philo busts out the cold cock. He actually takes a few on the chin himself, and a few in the ribs to boot, but he unleashes the beast. Kincaid picks up some crazy metal hook and nobody questions it. Philo turns him into a hunk of meat. The promoter tries to cheat them out of their winnings, so Echo opens up with a revolver. Echo is the Bonnie to Philo's Clyde. Oh no, wait. He already has a Clyde. That night, around the fire, Philo confides in Fide. He says,
"Takes me a long time to get to know a girl."
As he thinks about how he made out with Lynn and tried to sleep with her within 10 minutes of meeting her. Clyde's too busy thinking about that night at the zoo to listen or respond. The following morning, Philo goes for a jog wearing corduroys. And wouldn't you know it, man, Lynn drives by. Philo happens to be running backwards at this moment, so she sees his face. She tries to leave, but he uses his raw magnetism to pull her in. It immediately cuts to nighttime again, so that Clint Eastwood can become Clint Southwood. Lynn cons Philo into believing that they'll meet up later and drops him off. Now it's morning again. Time is passing so fast in this movie that nothing makes sense anymore. Back at the campsite, Orville can tell Philo got laid because he's smirking like he got laid. Philo says they're going to see Lynn tonight. Orville and Echo visit a fishing shop, and the cops that Philo beat up earlier enter. They overhear Philo's name and trail the couple back to the campground. Philo's going full guns out on the shore as the Popo arrives. They immediately whip out some cold steel because their plan is to straight up murder the guy. Never underestimate an embarrassed policeman. As one cop, Herb, goes to set up a flank, he encounters a snake. The other cop, Putnam, closes in for the kill, but realizes how cool Clint is and decides he'd rather fish with him instead. Together, they catch a big one. Then then Herb shows up, but Philo drops out of a tree on his ass. Then he literally... There's no way this movie had a script. But even Philo can't win them all, as the poor cowbilly gets stood up by his lady at the diner that night. Lynn can outrun her nosy man, but she can't outrun this Nazi clan. They insist that she take them to our boy. Later, and mind you, I've got no idea where we are in time or space at this point, Philo spots Lynn again, but she drives off, revealing the sinister doorknob in the distance. We get a badass showdown shot. And next thing we know, Philo is surrounded. He's outnumbered 20-1, but let's not forget that he's basically a cartoon character. As he lays waste to the entire Nerd Reich, Orville trashes all their bikes. They spot him and give chase, but Echo comes along and picks him up. The devious couple giggles together as they try to crush the life out of the defeated villains. Philo hops in, Clyde flips them all the bird, and that's that part of the plot wrapped up nice and neat. Even though she's done nothing but yank his chain, Philo has got it bad for Lynn. The next day, he tracks her down at a bar to catch her show. She ignores him and walks off with some other Donnie dildo. So Philo stalks her, and we get this epic shot of his face. The other guy shrivels into the night, and Lynn is livid with him. She doesn't understand why Philo won't just take a hint. Her boyfriend, Skylar, arrives, and she reveals that the shotgun threat from earlier was her idea. She wants to be rid of him. That's all there is to it. Philo says he wants a life with her, so she attacks him. This is getting weird. Lynn exhausts herself pummeling Philo's face and slumps to the ground. Philo, just as confused as the audience, strides off into the night, dejected. Shortly thereafter, he finds himself at one last fight club. His opponent is a big bag of pork called the legendary Tank Murdoch. He notes that Philo looks like he's already been hit in the face. Philo says,
"I ain't gonna be hitting you with my face."
And then he absolutely destroys Tank Murdoch. However, at the last second, he realizes that the crowd is witnessing the defeat of their hero, and they'll no longer have an identity if this happens, so he throws the fight. As they drive home the next day, they pass by the washed-up corpses of all the foes Philo has vanquished. I guess the moral of the story is that women may be impossible to understand, but at least men can take out their frustrations by beating the shit out of each other. Leave a like if you like, check out my other recaps, and try out my gaming channel if you're a gamer. See you next time.